Hi guys, it's me, Rebecca, the Clueless Homemaker. This has really been on my heart today. And in fact, this morning when I was in church, it was really, really heavy on my heart to make a video about this. And I thought, no, I can't really do that because it takes me so long to edit it that by the time I make a Mother's Day video, it will be Mother's Day 2020. So I promised myself that I'm going to do this in one shot. I'm not going to edit it, and I'm just going to put it up and pray that it reaches whoever it needs to reach. I wanted to give you a quick little video about something, probably the most important thing I've learned about being a mom. My oldest is 11 and a half, and my youngest is almost 6. In 2 weeks, she'll be 6. So I've been doing this mom thing for 11 and a half years. And I will say that I'm a much better mom to my second daughter than I was in the earlier years of my first daughter. And this is why. I was really hard on myself. I believed that every other mom had her stuff together, that every other mom's house was clean all the time, that she had a home-cooked meal on her table at 5:30 every day, that her family had hot breakfast every morning, that there were always clean clothes, that clothes were always in the drawers or hanging in the closets, just everything. Any line of perfection I could follow for motherhood and being a wife, I believed that everyone else was doing it right and I was failing miserably. And because of that, I really didn't have any other mom friends. I really isolated my daughter and I because it is a little harder for me to make friends because I don't like phoniness. Is that a word, phoniness? Phoniness. Fakeness? Anyway, you know what I mean. I don't like being phony. And I also thought if I become friends with another mom, at some point she's going to really see what a screw up I am, and it's going to go downhill. So I really isolated Ryland and me. And Ryland is not an isolator. She loves being out around people. She makes friends really, really easily. So it was really God's way of like kind of forcing me to figure this out, to make friends. But anyway, so I think when Ryland was around 4.5 or 5, no, she was around 4.5. I ended up running into an old friend who had since had kids, and we never really reconnected because, again, I didn't want her to see what a screw I was. And she invited me to go to a mom's group with her. And so I went. And I found out that I wasn't the only screw up, that other moms were afraid of the same thing, that other moms were scared of letting people in, that other moms were, in some of the areas that I was really killing it in, like crafts. I'm really good at like little kid crafts. Reading books to my daughter at night, really, really good at that. I was killing it in those areas. Like they were probably grocery shopping and not buying fast food for their kids all the time, but they weren't doing like the crafts that I was doing. So, anyway, so that's what I figured out. I figured out that I really wasn't alone, that I didn't have to be alone. And in that mom's group, another friend, Sarah, shout out to you, spoke to our mom's group and shared something that really, really hit me hard. And what she said is, being good enough is good enough. Now, I remember before hearing her say that, and again, being isolated from other moms, I would say 4 out of 7 nights, I would cry myself to sleep thinking about what a failure of a parent I was. And I'm not talking about, I wasn't leaving my kid with strangers or not spending time with her. I wasn't abusing her or neglecting her. I just felt like I wasn't perfect. And so I would lay in bed and I would go over my whole day with Ryland. Okay, I really talked rudely to her here, and I wasn't really as patient as I should have been here. And what would happen is I would cry and I would think I only have so much time with her and I'm messing this up. And the next morning, those mornings, I would, when she would wake up, I would apologize for the ways that I had failed. And she would be like, "What are you talking about, Mom? You didn't fail me." But it was weird because I was apologizing to her a lot for losing my temper or whatever. And I'm not saying we shouldn't apologize to our kids. We should apologize to our kids when we mess up, but not every single thing was a mess up that I thought was a mess up. She was remembering that I took her to the park and not that I snapped at her when I had to tell her to pick up her toys for the third time. So anyway, when she said that, when she gave this talk and she said that, it was like a light bulb went off. And I realized I didn't have to be perfect, that being good enough was good enough. I could be a good enough mom, and that would be good enough. And I'm telling you, it felt like weights falling off of my shoulders. It felt like I had a new lease on life. That, coupled with the fact that I was now in a community with other moms, totally changed how I was as a mom and how I was as a wife. Because I realized that it didn't have to be perfect and it was okay, and that it's not supposed to be perfect. So if I could go back, or if I could grab my younger self by the shoulders, I would tell her that relationship is important and being good enough is good enough. And I remember one time in a Bible study, somebody saying, if you pray for a friend, God will always bring you one. And there were 2 times in my life I prayed that. One was early, when I was really young, before I had kids and before I was married, and he did bring me a really great group of female friends. And the second time was a couple months after I had my second daughter. I was feeling lonely, and at that point I was homeschooling my oldest and just really feeling like I didn't fit in with the homeschool moms that were in my community, and just, the same way that I felt when my oldest was little, just that I didn't belong. And I prayed for specifically another mom who was a homeschooling mom who I could be myself with, because the homeschooling thing, I really wanted us to be able to do homeschool things together. And lo and behold, God brought her in a big way. Turns out she was living just one street over, literally like across the street and around the bend, really close. And when Radley, my youngest, when she was about 6 months old, and she's almost 6 now, that's when I met her. She was out doing her math for the day with her oldest daughter, which was setting up a hot chocolate stand, and they were learning about math that way, which was so awesome. But anyway, the first time that I went to her house, I remember walking in, and the first thing she said to me was, "This is the only time you'll ever see my house clean. This is the only time I'm ever going to clean for you, so enjoy it." And again, I felt all of this weight fell off, because I knew then that I could be myself with her. It was like a ministry on her part, sort of, to be able to let me see her house messy, because when she shows up at my house now and there are things flung all over the place, I don't think anything of it. And I know she doesn't think anything of it either when I show up at her house and there's stuff all over the place. So it's really important for you, if you're struggling being a mom, I want you to know that being good enough is good enough. We're all just doing the best that we can. And we need to be a lot easier on ourselves and a lot more forgiving. And we need to treat ourselves the way that we would treat our friends. If my sweet friend came to me and said, I feel like I'm struggling as a mom. I snapped at my kids. I did this. I did that. Dinner's not getting on the table every night. And sometimes we don't have enough food in the house. And I forget to go grocery shopping, or the clothes that they need to clean weren't clean. I would tell her that it's okay, because look at all these ways that yet when I'm the one that's saying that to myself, I don't say those same things. So we need to band together and encourage each other and be truthful with each other, but truthful in love, and just be honest and vulnerable with each other, because vulnerability begets vulnerability. Vulnerability begets vulnerability. Know that being good enough is good enough, that you are the best mom for your kids. So be gentle with yourself. Happy Mother's Day.
We need more than hopes and wishes for us.